Hi, everyone. I hope everyone is enjoying their first few days back at school. Thanks for choosing to check out my professional development about teaching reading and writing workshop in a hybrid environment. So, before we get started, just a little bit about me. My name is Christina Moscato, and I teach third grade. This will be my fourth year teaching third grade. I previously taught at Port Monmouth and now I will be at New Monmouth. If you have any questions about anything, whether it be reading and writer workshop related, any resources, questions, comments, even not related to this, I am always available. So feel free to email me. My email is right here. And be sure to follow me on Twitter. I post a lot about all my activities, what I'm doing in the classroom on there. All right, so let's get started. All right, so just a little agenda so you know what this professional development is going to be about. So today we will review the reading and writing workshop lesson format with modifications for hybrid teaching. I'm also going to give you a variety of tools and resources to teach workshop in a hybrid environment. And then lastly, and most importantly, I'm going to give you strategies to relieve your stress during this process because I know how stressful this all can be. So I'm going to try and make reading and writing workshop in a hybrid environment as easy and seamless as possible while still effective. Okay, so before we dive in, let's just review the workshop lesson format because it's been a while since we've been in school and teaching workshop in school. So remember, we always start off with our mini lesson, and our mini lesson is consisted of the connection, our teaching point, then we teach, we have our action engagement, and then our link. And then after the mini lesson, we go into conferring and small group work, which consists of independent reading or writing, conferencing, and strategy groups. And then we go into our share. So that's just the workshop lesson format. Now remember, right now we are running on a half-day schedule. So the content and the period is going to be a little bit quicker and shorter than we're used to. All right, so first let's focus on the mini lesson. Now, our mini lessons, as you guys know, and our live instruction is going to be live streamed. So the students at home who are virtual all the time or virtual on their specific days can tune in and watch your lesson. So I'm going to talk about this. All right, so first I'm just going to give some mini lesson quick tips for this new hybrid environment. So remember, like I said, our mini lesson is going to have to be live streamed. This is required. Now, when we're doing this, you want to make sure you position your webcam where you and the smartboard are clearly visible. Now, I believe our tech specialists and other crew are going to be helping set up these webcams that have been ordered for all of us. So when you position it and set up your classroom this year, you just want to make sure you have a good spot where you and the smartboard are clearly visible to not only the children in the classroom, but also those at home. Another tip I have for you is to use the record feature on Google Meet. And I have linked here, if you click, how to use that and where you can find it and what it looks like. Use the record feature because you're teaching the lesson. Why should you then have to go back, reteach a lesson, a video, and then post that? When you're going to teach your live instruction in your mini lessons, press record. It will automatically save to your drive, and then you can post it on Google Classroom later. You're saving yourself a step. Why teach the lesson twice when you can just teach it once? That way, any students who maybe missed the lesson, weren't able to get on, maybe were absent that day, or simply need to go back and remember what you talked about, it'll be right there. They can go back and rewatch your lesson from that day. So be sure to use the record feature on Google Meet. It will help you so much. My suggestion is, and I am normally a huge chart paper girl. I already ordered so much chart paper for this upcoming school year before I knew we would be hybrid because I always love creating anchor charts and creating my notes with the Post-its and all that. But for hybrid, I really am suggesting this year to use Google Slides or Smartboard presentation. And there's a couple of reasons for this. One, it's very visible for the students in the classroom and the students who are at home. It's probably going to be a lot easier for them to see what you are writing on the smartboard than if you're writing small on chart paper. I also think it is much more accessible. Again, if you do an anchor chart, how are the kids at home really going to be able to see it? If you do it on Google Slides or a smartboard, you can then post that on Google Classroom. So again, the students can go back and look, or it's right there. If they can't see it from the video, they can go back and look at it on their computer. So it's accessible and visible. So just to recap those quick tips, remember to make sure your webcam and smartboard are clearly visible. Use that record feature and use Google Slides or a smartboard presentation for your anchor charts. And I'm going to show you guys some examples. So here is a digital anchor chart I used back in the spring when we were doing virtual instruction. And at the end of the year, I was having my students do a book buzz to talk about their favorite books and get the other students excited for summer reading. And I created this anchor chart on a Google slide and made a video just like this going over it. Now, you won't be creating the video, but you'll be teaching, and something like this could be displayed. So just what I would normally put on Post-its and stick it up on the board or write on the ink chart, I wrote a nice, big, bright, colorful Google slide. Okay, so that's just one example. Here's another one I did for writing when my students were doing how-to journal writing. Again, instead of what I would put on Post-it notes, I put right on a Google slide, so it was easy for the students to view it when I was teaching the lesson, and they could always go back and view it. So I would always post my video, which you will already have recorded, with the slides that go along with it, or the anchor chart, to make it nice and easy. I also did my writing samples same way. So I taught them how to do a how-to, and my writing sample was right on the computer, because most of the students, realistically, unless you have a lot of younger students, even them are going to be doing their writing on the computer. So why would you show them writing in a notebook when they're going to have to write on the computer? So I recommend anchor charts and writing samples, your stop and jot samples. Show them what it would look like on the computer, because that's what they're going to be doing. So this was just my sample how-to and how I did it on my slides. Now you can either have them pre-made or go through the process with them how they would. The writing process for you and the writing process for them, just on the computer. All right, so now let's get into the mini lesson. Remember, this is going to be the same rules as always. We want to keep it quick, under 10 minutes. Now, we know the elements of a mini lesson, but does it get changed hybrid? Some parts do, and the good news is a lot of parts stay the same. Remember, we're going to be in front of the classroom teaching, which is different for us. We can't bring the kids to the carpet. We all can't sit in a circle, but you can still do your mini lesson from in front of the class with the students either watching at home or being in class with you. So our connection stays the same, nothing to change there. Remember, here we activate prior knowledge, connect to their interests, their personal life, previous skills taught, same thing as we always would. Our teaching point, same thing. We can still state our teaching point from the front of the room. Remember, today I'm going to teach you. And like I said, display this on the smartboard so it's easy for all the students to see, whether they're at home or in class. And again, instead of writing it tiny on anchor chart paper, write it big on a smartboard or on a Google slide. Teaching, same thing. You're going to model the skill. I highly recommend using a document camera to display your mental text or a digital book, because it's going to be a lot easier for the students in person and at home to view that. Active engagement. How are the students supposed to turn and talk if we're not on the carpet? I'm going to get into that. But lastly, we have our link. Remember, today and everyday readers or writers, you can, and then you explain their task or job just like you normally would and send them off. Now let's talk about that active engagement. Now, remember, the active engagement in our mini lesson is when students briefly practice the skill, discuss the topic, and so on. Normally, we tell our students to turn and talk, or turn and talk with your reading or writing partner. If they're in a club, turn and talk with your club, and they're all close together, whispering to each other. Can't really do that now. So here are some alternatives that I like and plan on doing in as a switch out for that typical turn and talk on the carpet. So something I plan on doing is having each of my students have an individual whiteboard and markers that they keep with their stuff at their desk. Now, students can respond on a whiteboard, hold it up, and share it out. So for example, okay, boys and girls, right now, today we talked about character traits. On your whiteboard, I want you to write down one character trait that describes the character in your book or the book we're reading together, whatever it is. Have them write it down. They can hold it up. They can share it their own, or you can ask a classmate to read another one, one of their classmates' responses. The students at home can even participate in this too. One, I plan on telling my students to send their whiteboards home with them every day. But if they don't, there's a fantastic website linked here that I use a lot for all my subjects, writing, reading, math, called whiteboard.fi. And you can share a whiteboard with the students. They can create whiteboards. They can answer questions. It's awesome. And then you can display that on the smartboard to show students responses and what they have written. So a lot of great options here. I love the individual whiteboards. It's quick and easy. Partner substitution is another one. Now, students really aren't supposed to be bringing stuffed animals and things from home, but students can whisper an idea into their hand, and virtual students can share with a stuffed animal or a family member. So instead of turn and talk to your partner, say turn and talk to a family member, turn and talk to your favorite stuffed animal, turn and talk to your pet, whatever it is. I also really love the idea of a virtual jot plot. So students can respond on Padlet, Note.ly, or the Google Meet chat. And all students could do that. Remember, they're going to be at their desk. They're not going to be at the carpet. So if they have their Chromebook out and can be responsible, you could say, open to the link I posted. Everybody write one jot, display it on the board. Students in class and at home can all participate and show it. Another great option is hand signals. So students can give the typical thumbs up, thumbs down in the middle, or you can get really creative. Hold up 3 fingers if you agree with this, or touch your nose or your shoulders if you think this. That's another great way. And lastly, the students still, if you think about it, really can still turn and talk from 6 feet apart. So tell them, turn to the partner on your right or to your left, or you can already have them right, and they can talk to each other. 6 feet is far enough, but not that far. Remember, you don't have a class of 25 students where it's getting really loud. There's probably going to be 11, 10, or even less than that. So they can turn and talk to each other and share too. Just make sure they're still 6 feet apart. All right, so that's the active engagement. All right, so after our mini lesson, we then go into conferring and small group work. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky because we're not going to be able to go around from student to student and curl up next to them on the carpet and see what they're writing or they're reading. Or we're not going to be able to pull a whole reading group of students to the back table. We really kind of just be monitoring the classroom. So what I really like, and you can do this when you're in school with the students or when they go home and do it virtually, is Google Meet breakout rooms. And when you click on the link, there is the Google Chrome extension that you can use there to download it so you have it. And once you have that, you can use it for so many things. You could do guided reading groups. You can do individual conferences. You can do strategy groups. You can do interventions. You can even have student-led groups. So when you do have book clubs and research clubs and your writing partners or your reading partners, you can put them in groups and then you can pop into those groups and check in on what they're doing. So I highly recommend the Google Meet breakout rooms feature for this. And again, you can do that when all the kids are at home, Or you can even do it when, you sit at your back table and you're popping in the Google Meets while the students are doing it with their headphones in at their desks. Okay. So during independent reading time or writing time, there's a lot the students can be doing. So I kind of just stuck to reading right now because I feel like that can be a little bit trickier when it comes to finding resources. So for some virtual book resources. So students can still independently read and write. They go off, they're at their desks, they have their headphones, they have their online books, their Chromebooks, because as far as I know, right now, students really can't bookshop and handle books. So here's some great alternatives. So virtual book resources, and they're all linked here. One of my absolute favorites that I know my third graders love is Epic. For some of the younger kids, Storyline Online is great. Different celebrities read animated stories. Raz Kids is also fantastic. Unite for Literacy is great for early learners and younger readers. Freckle, Books, Pebble Go, and then of course YouTube. Sometimes if there's a book I can't find and I really want all the students to read it, I just go on YouTube and it's almost always there of someone reading it aloud. Or again, if there's a book you really want the students, you can record it ahead of time, post it, or read it aloud to the group. And if you have any others that aren't on here, because I know there's so many, I just listed some of my favorites and some of my colleagues' favorites, let me know because I'm always open up to some more resources. And then at the end, I have a resources slide that has some curated libraries linked with all different reading levels that other people have put together and I got from Teachers College. Now, we know normally in workshop, the students go off to read and write. And then they also usually have a job to do, especially in reading. They need to be stopping and jotting, or they're independently writing. So some different ways students can stop and jot. Individual whiteboards, using the same ways that we outlined before. They can use Padlet or Notely, which is great as well. For writing, I really, really loved Google Slides. I actually use Google Slides a lot to help my students plan their reading, even before virtual instruction. And you can either use it for writing or reading. Have them have a digital reading notebook. And I have a template linked here that I used during the year, actually, before even virtual instruction. And then we went to virtual. It was super helpful that I already had it. But for example, one of our topics in third grade is informational writing. And they had a slide template that they put their different chapters and information. I had a slide for their lead, a slide for table of contents, a cover page. So that's a great option. And I have some samples coming up of some different things. And then I also love to use Flipgrid and Seesaw. So I have more examples on the next page that I'll get into. And all those resources too are great when you're just assigning online assignments. Because like I said, remember students are going to have a half-day schedule. So they're not going to have as long as usual to do independent reading and writing. So maybe if you are giving an assignment for when they get home, these are also great resources, especially Flipgrid and Seesaw, Google Slides, Padlet, of all things that they can do at home and you can go back and check. So I'll show you some samples. So these are some things I did virtually that you could do. So for example, when we were reading biographies, I had the students, when they were reading, find the main idea or lesson learned in the biography, because we were recently learning about that. I had my instructions, and then here are just 2 student samples of things they wrote from their reading. And they were quick. This wasn't a write long. These were supposed to be stop and jots. Here's another one. This one is from Flipgrid. So something like this would be good for the younger emergent readers, where maybe they record themselves reading a book. Another activity I did on Seesaw the lesson was about creating goals, and I had them record their goals on Seesaw. Normally they would do that in their readers and writers notebook. Instead, I had them do it on Seesaw. So I could check it and their peers could see it as well as their parents. Here's another one I did on Seesaw. We were learning about being narrators in nonfiction, and I had them record themselves reading, popping out the keywords, creating drama and tension, reading with fluency in their nonfiction books. Here's some other ideas. Readers, this could be when you send them off. You could pause, come back to the video and say, readers, on your whiteboard, write down the main idea and supporting details from your text using boxes and bullets. Readers, please pause your reading and write 3 character traits to describe your main character on the Padlet. So there's so many options that are quick, where again, instead of writing it in their notebook, they're writing it quickly on, online or on a whiteboard. So here is also an example of a slide I created that you could have as a digital reader's notebook. So it could just be you can create one for each unit, maybe if you're doing a read aloud for those, and then have them just insert the date each day, and then readers, today I want you to do 2 stop and jots. There's your slides. Make sure, and then you can go back and check. Or maybe if you're pausing throughout and say, readers, let's pause. I want you to do a stop and jot. Just a couple ideas. Okay, then lastly, but not least, we have our share, which comes at the end of our lesson. So maybe some few ideas that you could do. Now, normally what we would do is everybody comes back to the carpet, or you have them meet up with a partner to share what they did. Some different things you can do. Display the Padlet or the Notely on the smartboard and scroll through and have different students share what they stop and jotted for. You can also have students present on Google Meet to show their writing or their digital notebooks. You can have students hold up their whiteboards, or if you had them maybe do a seesaw or a Flipgrid, go back and watch the videos as a class, or send the students off and say, I want you to go back, watch 3 of your classmates and write a comment to them. So all different things that are so easy and so simple to do. And I know a lot of this I even did before, which I know a lot of you do as well. It's just, doing a little bit more of it than maybe we would have before. Here are some other really great resources that I use, and I even got a lot of my information for this presentation for. So if you are on social media, if you are not already on the reading and writing, and they're linked here, Facebook groups, the Teachers College ones, they are absolutely phenomenal. Tons of resources are posted there. It's just other teachers asking questions and giving suggestions, and Lucy Calkins goes in and comments sometimes and provides feedback. All the TC staff provides resources. So it is absolutely fantastic. I get pretty much a lot of my TC information on there before virtual and normally. So definitely join that. They also recently posted on those Facebook groups units of study overview for reading and writing, specifically for virtual instruction. So if you click on it, let's see, oops, I can click on it. There we go. I just want to show you because it has it for all the elementary grades, so for reading and writing. So we just want to make sure you see that so I can show you. And this is another fantastic resource. So it starts out with kindergarten. It has reading units, gives you an overview, linked, writing, phonics. Same thing for all the grades. So be sure to check that out for a lot of great resources. I know they were also posting lessons too, which are also so helpful. So that's another fantastic resource. So be sure to check that out. Of course, there's Heinemann, which is fantastic all the time, but a lot of the anchor charts, instead of creating your own slides like how I have, you can simply download them and display them. I know I did that a lot when I ran out of anchor chart paper, or, just couldn't recreate it because it had great samples on it. Use the anchor charts on there. Don't recreate the wheel. They're there for you to use. Jen Saravallo also posts a lot of great information and videos. Here's a video that I really enjoyed about her tips on conferring with students virtually. And then I mentioned there were some sample virtual libraries, and I got these all from that Facebook group. So these were just a couple that I thought were really helpful, and just to show you what is on there. And these ones covered a lot of different content areas and grade levels. So for example, if you click on this first library, somebody created this Padlet library that has books and libraries for different reading levels. For this, you could even create your own copy of it and update it, change it. It's a really great starting place. So for example, they have the anchor chart here. Again, this is from Heinemann. Why recreate the wheel, download it, and upload it. So when shopping for books, you can insert your own Epic class code. And then these are all libraries created on Epic for different levels. So we have fiction and nonfiction. And if you scroll, it has all different levels. So super, super helpful here. So this is just an example of a library that was and resources already created for you. If you want to use this, you simply remake, and save your own version of it. The Padlet Library 2 is very similar to that. And then here's just another example of things that are out there and on that one Facebook group. I know in third grade, one really big writing unit that we start the year off is personal narratives, and read alouds are so helpful for this unit. Here is a whole document filled of virtual, awesome, fantastic personal narrative mentor text. So again, this is just another sample. These are great read alouds as it is. So if you want to use them, definitely do. See, they're all linked here. I know Each Kindness is a mentor text I used a lot last year at the beginning of the year, and it's linked on Epic. So you can share it with your students on your smartboard. You can link it to them if they want to go back and reread it. You can zoom in. It's fantastic. You can take screenshots of it. Awesome resource there. So those are just some examples of some other resources. And again, if you have more for me, I didn't want to overwhelm you guys and go crazy with this. Tried to keep it simple and with my favorite resources that are all streamlined. Because I know sometimes if you involve too much stuff, it gets not only complicated for you, but for the students and their parents as well. I find it most helpful to find a few of your favorite resources and learn them really well and use them. And then if you have any other questions or thoughts, I am having a Google Meet session on Thursday, September 3rd from 11:30 a.m. to 12, and you can simply click this link to join. Then I will display that up there, and it will be posted, I believe, on the hub where you found this as well. But I'll just leave that there for a second in case you want to write it down. So again, if you have any questions or thoughts, hop on the Google Meet. If there's another one at the same time and you can't make it, again, shoot me an email. If you have anything to add, I'm so open to suggestions. And I hope you enjoyed this and found this helpful. And I hope it relieves some of your stress about teaching, reading, and writing workshop virtually. Have a great first week of school, and good luck, everyone. Bye.